Yeah, I usually come and go.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Oh, we got some new people coming in. I just want to welcome you to Unity Center of Des Moines. If you're here in person or joining us online, we want to welcome you just as you are and recognize that everyone is on their own unique spiritual journey. Unity Center of Des Moines is a place to practice positive spirituality without the dogma. So let's begin with song. Otherwise, just do your best to sing along. Oh my goodness. Happy August, everybody. Can you believe it? I saw my first pelican out at Dale Moffett, and that means that fall is coming, because I'm migrating through. So, yes. Yes, if you go to Graves Lake, Sailorville Lake, or basically any big body of water in September, you'll see pelicans. Yeah. Yeah, fun times. Highly recommend getting out in nature, everybody. Yeah.
And sometimes swans.
Sometimes swans. I can't remember their migration pattern. They don't like me as much as pelicans. Anyway, announcements this week. So there is no gong practice on Tuesday. I put that in the newsletter, and then it's since been postponed. And there's no Aura Breath with Devel. Her mother has passed on, so she needed to cancel her event. So sending love and tenderness to her family in this time. Common Thread, though, on August 6th is on here in the sanctuary. And if you go to the newsletter, you can read about the speaker and what she's going to be talking about. It's quite interesting. And then next Sunday, August 9th at 2 p.m., there is going to be the Lion's Gate meditation with Deb Jennings and Laura Jones. Nope.
Laura's going to be on vacation.
Laura's going to be gone, never mind. So just Deb. And it is going to be a heart-centered offering. So please come. The Lion's Gate is 8/8, and that energy continues through a couple days. There's more about that in the newsletter. If you happen to notice, because I didn't announce it and realize why, we will not have a potluck next week. We will have treats, and we will reschedule the potluck because it didn't work with the Lion's Gate. Yes, I know, it was one of those things. But you know what? Just like so many other things, even if our brains plan something, there's divine order and a greater consciousness that ends up working things out. If you want to read more details, you can check the newsletter or the calendar at unitydesmoines.com. saving the date, August 11th, so a Tuesday, not this coming Tuesday, but the next Tuesday, right? Cacao ceremony and new moon gong meditation is that evening. And then the men's connection circle is Friday, August 14th. So that's all coming up. And who has celebrations? All right, Susan.
First of all, it's great to be back. I was out for about a month doing some spiritual training, and that was wonderful. I'm celebrating family, and that's not just my birth family or my, what's that came through me, but my spiritual community too, family. But something special, three of my daughters are going to be visiting me this month, and that's very special. And they're going to be singing in Unity on August 23rd. So invite you all to come. My husband Paul's going to be the speaker. So I'm feeling very grateful about all that.
Yay! Yay, family! Who else has got celebrations? Go ahead, Hillary.
My daughter is graduating from naval training tomorrow.
All right. I learned about a new bird, and I hope I pronounced it right, but it's spelled dickcissel. And I was out walking, heard the call, and didn't see it, and I was like, please, will you show me what you look like? And it did! It came out, and a couple of them came out, and I got it on video, so that was very exciting to me. Yes. I don't know, they listen. I like it. All right, any other celebrations people want to share? All right, well, let's continue on then. The statement of faith, I think we're still,
One back
what?
there. Laura,
Oh, go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, so when you look at a sunset over a lake or an ocean, there's this thing called a green flash, which right when the sun goes under, you're very fortunate to see a green flash. And I saw a green flash up in Lake Michigan for the first time in like years and years, so.
Yay!
Good omen, everybody.
I love it. That is wonderful. And that reminds you, green is heart chakra and healing, and there you go. Green flash, love it. Okay, so we're having technical difficulties, but I will lead the statement of faith and just allow yourself for the words to fall out because they belong, and don't worry about what happens. You might memorize it. There is only one power active in my life and in the universe, the divine source of all life and love. And next, the unity affirmation. Unity of Des Moines is a radiating center of the divine light, mighty to attract its good and to radiate good to others. And with the spirit of oneness, I have a list of names of people that have asked to have prayers. And there was a young woman that came a few times here to Unity that I found out passed away yesterday. And I just want to give love and support to her family and everyone who loved her, everyone that crossed paths with her here, and that she knows she is loved and ease for transition. Elena, Amy, Annabelle, Ben, Bob, Carla, Seal, Chad, Dave, Dawn, Doreen, Gray, Jameson, Jessica, Josana, Judy, Julie, Laura, Lindsay and family, Matthew, Marty, Natalia, Paul, Ruth, Riley, Rahima, Scott, Skylar, Steve, Zilly, and people with struggles we know nothing about.
And as we hold those individuals in our hearts in prayer, we'll go into a state of meditation. Begin that by allowing the chair you're in to fully support you physically as you sink into it and let your body and muscles relax. Feel supported in all ways by the community here. And just slow your breath down, following it in and out of the body. Breathe in peace, calm, and relaxation as you breathe in through your nose. Elongate that exhale and breathe out anything no longer serving you as you breathe out through your mouth. Let's do that again, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And center yourself in your hearts, connecting with Source by whatever name you use for Source, and asking to receive whatever guidance you may need today in this moment. Also, invite Mother Earth to join Source's energy in your heart to ground you, to be able to put that guidance into action after the meditation, and dwell in this peaceful place within your own heart, where Source and Earth support you in the silence. Staying relaxed, breathe in again, this time inviting in joy. Letting go of anything holding you down or back on your out breath. And then breathing in through your nose one more time, breathing in unconditional love for yourself, loving and accepting yourself just as you are right here and right now. Breathing out gratitude as you breathe out through the mouth. Gratitude for this time to love and nurture yourself. Gratitude for this time in community to feel the love and support of community. Gratitude for all that is. And as you go through your day-to-day, may that unconditional love, peace, and joy that you have connected with this morning radiate outward from your heart to all that you encounter. And as we bring our awareness fully back, we feel balanced, aligned, centered, and grounded, relaxed, refreshed, restored, renewed, and rejuvenated, and we are grateful.
Today's daily word is taken from John chapter 20, verse 29, which says, Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe." When Thomas says he can't believe in Jesus' resurrection unless he touches the wounds for himself, he is describing those moments when God's infinite, eternal good seems too hard to believe. Jesus' response is instructive. He doesn't criticize Thomas's doubt or demand blind faith. Instead, he offers exactly what Thomas needs, inviting him to touch the wounds and see for himself. Jesus meets him where he is, then invites him into a deeper way of believing, one that can trust in unseen. The invitation is open to me, too. Whether my belief is steady and confident, or I long for reassurance and signs of divine presence, I trust I am divinely supported and dearly loved. The affirmation that goes along with this, I'll say it once, and then if we can all say it together. I trust that my belief and my unbelief are enough. I trust that my beliefs and my unbeliefs are enough. All right, let's have another song, and this time we'll have lyrics up. We love it when you sing along. To Deb, who chooses the music and puts it together in the perfect theme every week. And we're so happy to have Dennis joining too. And now it is my pleasure to welcome our beloved Wayne Jones to the platform, and he is going to speak about how to elevate your consciousness level, get further on the spiritual path in less time. Give a round of applause for Wayne Jones.
What time should I finish up?
11:20. Okay.
Good morning, greetings and salutations. I chose this topic about consciousness levels. There is a map of consciousness that David R. Hawkins came out with, and I just wanted to read a little something to start with about, I know Stevie read this at one time, and this is out of the book Power Versus Force by David R. Hawkins, And the consciousness level thing, to me, has just become a very serious thing, because I just kind of believe unless you raise your consciousness level, there isn't going to be a whole lot of change for the betterment. And Hawkins writes this: we may observe how throughout history, society has tried to treat social problems by legislative action, warfare, market manipulation, laws and prohibitions, all manifestations of force. Only to see these problems persist and recur despite the treatment, although governments or individuals proceeding from positions of force are myopic to the sensitive observer, it actually becomes obvious that conditions of social conflict won't disappear until the underlying origins have been exposed and healed. The difference between treating and healing is that the former, the context, remains the same, whereas the latter, the clinical response, is elicited by the charge of context, so that as to bring about absolute removal of the cause of the condition rather than mere recovery from its symptoms. It's one thing to prescribe antihypertensive medication for high blood pressure. It's quite another to expand the patient's context of life so he stops being angry and repressive. The empathy derived from contemplating this map of consciousness will hopefully make a path of joy a shorter one. The key to joy is unconditional kindness to all life, including one's own, which we refer to as compassion. Without compassion, little of any significance is ever accomplished in human endeavors. We may generalize the greater social context from individual therapies wherein the patient can't be truly cured or fundamentally healed until he invokes the power of compassion both for himself and others. At that point, the healed may become healed. And Steve, you read that some time back, and so I just thought I'd start with that, just to share my compassion, I guess, or about changing things for the better. And without that, how's it gonna get better? And that's what I think we're all here to do. And just to kind of firm that up, I ran across a quote of Mark Twain's, and here's what he says. The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. And what in the past few years, I've kind of been on an accelerated path, I would say, in the spiritual realm. Been in a lot of churches, done a lot of religious stuff, and it just seems to me that getting involved in reading is starting to change your mindset, and that's what Jesus is saying. You know, it's about changing your mind. You have to change your mind in order to do something different, and I'll probably get into some of that. So, like for me, like the last 8 years, it's been a great change. I started reading books pretty much in the spiritual realm. 2 books that got me started was The Law of Attraction by Jerry and Esther Hicks. And another book was The Answer by John Starff and Murray Smith. The book The Answer was more of a business book. That's why I picked it up, because I have a business, and I thought, these guys are going to give me the secret, for figuring this thing out. And in the first 40 pages, it tells kind of a story of the guys' lives. what they started out doing, these two guys, was buying businesses and then building them up and selling them. And then they built a business up of their own. They started in and they run it up to $1 billion business and sold it. And so they wanted to take some time off. And John, he always wanted to live in San Diego. So he bought a house in San Diego and moved in. By that time, they traveled around a lot. He had a 5-year-old son. He was in his office trying to do some work, and this kid just kept kicking on his box. Tried to get him to stop. He wouldn't stop. So he goes over there to talk to him, and he says, "Hey, Dad, what's in the box?" Well, he says, "I don't know. It's a ship. It's been stored for 20 years." So they opened it up, and in the box was a vision board that he had. He'd always wanted to live in San Diego. He opened it up, and the picture of the house on the vision board was the exact house that they bought in San Diego.
Wow.
So that kind of gives me some other, there's something going on here about manifestation. There's another thing that he did. He wanted to study some stuff about quantum physics. So he started doing that, and when you get into quantum physics with an electron microscope, things don't behave like I was taught in school anyway, how atoms work. So as you looked at it, then things would change, and they would also change direction and they'd change speeds. It didn't act like anything that I'd ever been taught in school. And then one of the other things they done was an experiment with a guy. They took some cells from him, kept them alive in a petri dish. They gave him a polygraph test, and whenever he responded to the polygraph test, the cells in the petri dish responded. Pretty amazing. So then they moved him a few miles away and experimented again. Same thing. They moved him 150 miles away. Same thing. They moved him halfway around the world, and whenever the guy responded to the polygraph test, the cells in the petri dish responded. And I know from being an electrician that electricity and light travel at 183,000 miles per second. This is instantaneous. That's pretty amazing to me. So that kind of gives me the notion that we're told that we are spiritual beings and we were created, and we always have a connection with our Creator. And to me, that story tells us that we are connected to Source, and we cannot get unconnected.
Yeah.
And then besides that, we're all related because there's only one Source, so we all have to be related. So therefore, we should be treating one another differently. That's going to make the difference. And so I got started down this path. Well, the book, The Law of Attraction, that kind of gave me the notion, you want to be careful about what you're saying, because whatever you speak, that's what's going to be drawn to you. And so people keep saying, well, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. They keep saying, they keep asking for what they don't want. So, those are just some of the things that I've observed. So, getting through that, and then I like to read a lot of books, and I just read all the time. And then I got involved with a couple of counselors, and a couple of the counselors that I had a conversation with kind of finished up with saying, well, Wayne Dyer and Dr. Emoto would like to work with you. And I knew they were both dead. So how do you do that? So my notion was this: okay, I'll buy Wayne Dyer's book, on intention, and I'll start reading that to see what he's thinking, if I'm gonna work with him. So I start reading, and I come across, he said he studied A Course in Miracles for a year. So I thought, oh, that's great, I'll get the Course in Miracles, and then I'll start reading that, and I'll be tuned in. I could not make sense of A Course in Miracles. And I knew I had to get into a study group, and I found out that Unity had a study group. It was led by Kathy Simpson, and so I got involved with Unity. This is my 6th year. I started in January, and I've been through the Course in Miracles almost 6 times now. And the Course in Miracles has changed my viewpoint of a lot of things. And one of the things was this thing about being judgmental. And so we all have been brought up with certain beliefs about other people, and probably yourself and a lot of people in your family and everything. And that is probably one of the biggest things that I had to overcome, was being judgmental of people. And what I come to figure out was that we really can't be judging somebody, because number one, you don't know what I've been through, and I don't know what you've been through. And so if we were going to judge somebody, we have to have valid information to present that. You know, if you go into a court of law, you have to have truth. So who knows that? The one that created us. So in order to make that change, then you have to change your attitude. And that was huge for me. And there's a lot of other things in the Course in Miracles. There's a lot of talk about happiness. And then there's some mention about joy. And the thing about the difference for me is happenstance is the root word of happiness. It just happens. But then when you get into the other thing about joy, that becomes a deliberate intention. And then, let's see, Dr. Emoto, I read his book. I have a water business, so I read Dr. Emoto's book. Kind of one of the interesting things about Dr. Emoto is he'd done a lot of experiments with water. And he would take a glass of water and he'd put a label on it, like love, or happiness, or joy, or whatever. And then other glasses put hate, or something like that on it. And then when they froze that water in those glasses, the ones that had positive things, it came out as perfect crystals. And the ones that were not, it came out with distorted crystals and everything. It was not. So that kind of gives me the idea, you know, be careful of who you associate with. And being our bodies are 70 to 75% water, that being associated with negative people, that's going to affect your physical body. It just can't keep from it. And so those are just some of the things that I've observed going down through this thing. So. And then I was also challenged again about working with Wayne Dyer. So I read further in his book, and he said he read this book, Power versus Force, by David R. Hawkins. And so David R. Hawkins' book, Power versus Force, he's the one that came up with the map of consciousness. And so I get this notion because I've been in some business training and everything, and it says if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And so today I brought along, it's kind of a modified version of Hawkins' things called Levels of Consciousness. And it starts down at the bottom. And your level of consciousness with shame is like 20. It's right from 1 to 1,000. and it's logarithmic, so every time you go up a point, it's times 10. And so then as you go up the scale there, Hawkins is saying that you have to get up to at least the level of 200 before you can even understand the difference between truth and falsehood. And there's a process that he could use, it's called muscle testing or kinesiology, I think. Probably butchered the pronunciation of it. But anyway, you can tell within 21 seconds whether a person's telling the truth or lying. And so those are just some things, but both parties have to be at least 200 on that scale for that to even work. So those, and then on the left-hand side of this handout that I have, it also gives you what dimension that you'll be in on the spiritual level. And this goes clear up to the 12th dimension. And your highest level is 1,000 on that scale, and that's going to be like Jesus and Buddha and Krishna. And those people are ascended masters, and they can tolerate that high level most of us cannot. So those are just some of the things that I've learned along the way. That so we have a way of telling kind of where you're at, and if you're, you know, we all have this thing called willingness, and if you're not willing to change, as it goes, it's like what Mark Twain was saying, you know, it's about finding out, you know, what you're here for. And so there's processes that you can do on your own. You have to be willing to do that. And I chose to read a lot of books, and then I chose to engage a counselor to kind of keep you on track. And the thing is that for me to figure out, it says, okay, why you were here, what did you come for? And some of the things that I've read is that we have agreed prior to being in the physical body, there's things that we agreed to do when we came here. And it's a long drawn out process for most of us to get that thing figured out. So there's a book called Sacred Contracts by Carolyn Mays that will walk you through that. And I have Kimberly Busby worked with me on that for over a year to identify the reason I'm here. And it pretty much came out from different archetypes in the different houses and all that stuff that you go through. My two things that I'm here to do is for healing, and that's pretty much in the physical realm, and that's through my water business. And the other thing is teaching, and that's what I'm practicing on here this morning, is just to present my path that I chose to go down through to do that. And I just, there's a lot of things that I've thought about that a lot of people, maybe even in the business world, okay, you've got, through some of that, you've got some training, you know, on how to be more profitable and so on and so forth, and how you can do things. And one day I was with Kathy Simpson at the Chicken down at the Rill having lunch, and we got to talking about standard deviations, and she says, well, and that's a program in Excel, and well, she says that they have another program, it's called pivot tables, and she says it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube, you know, where you can keep turning it in different ways and looking at the different numbers to make decisions. So my vision of that was, okay, what if you took a Rubik's Cube and you start putting new things on there that are helpful for you to get further down the spiritual path, to shorten that. So it doesn't take us long to get from here to there. Because when you're there than you're here.
Exactly.
Anyway. But anyway, you kind of just, I think we take this spiritual thing a lot of times way too seriously. And I think it can be just a whole lot more fun, and we can get further down the path in a shorter amount of time. And then I had a conversation with my daughter about this thing called the pivot table, and she says, "Oh, I'm queen of the pivot tables." And I says, "How's that?" And she says, "Well, when I was managing warehouses, we used the pivot table to determine what products were going out the door the fastest." And so they figured that out. So the things that were going out the door the fastest in the warehouse, they moved them closer to the door so they didn't have to walk so far. And the things that didn't move as fast, they put them further back in the warehouse. So, can we do that with spiritual stuff?
Yes.
Can we get a yeah?
Yeah.
So, it's just a matter of using your imagination, and I think, okay, is that Einstein had a saying, something about, it's just the thing about intelligence is when you start being creative, that's just the fun part of it. And we can just have a lot of fun doing that. And I've had jobs. I used to run electric work. I was an electrician, and I had this one engineer that I didn't think too highly of. And I was moving some heavy pieces of equipment one day, and he was watching me. And he says, we'd have to move this stuff in with to get the panels to go back in this building, and we'd get one, and then we'd pry it back into place, and then we get the next one, and you had about a 4-foot space in between it. And so you'd have to stop and pry that one back in there. And he said, Wayne, he says, you know, if you cut a couple of 4x4s, is when you're pulling that next one in, put it in between there, and that'll just push that one up against the other one. You don't have to do all that. And I just had to stop and think, you know, even though I didn't think too highly of him, he could see things that I could not see.
Right.
So, what do? You can either keep doing the stupid stuff or you can change. That happens all the time. And one of the other things about planning out your pathway to spiritual enlightenment, my wife used to plan vacations for us where she would like to go. And then it was my deal to go out and make the money to make it happen. But she was the inventive one. She was the curious. We went on a lot of trips. One year we took a 5-week vacation. And people say, well, how'd you get off work for 5 weeks? And I says, well, when you work in construction, there is no paid holidays. So you work hard and save your money, and then you can take time off. And so we took a trip, but she had planned out, you know, things that we wanted to see. We agreed upon that before we took off. And so we were in agreement, and we took a lot of trips. And the interesting thing about this 5-week vacation is when I came back to work, I went into the office the first day. The general manager was standing there, and he says, you still work here? And I figured, general manager, he should know, right? So I simply said, I don't know, do I? And he says, well, we didn't know when he was coming back, so you might as well take another day off. And I said, okay. This is in 1970. Well, I had personal business to do. You can't do your banking with a phone in 1970. Yeah. So I just took it off. But the thing was, I didn't stay around and talk to him. I just turned around and went out the door. Because whether I had a job or not, it didn't bother me because I know my value. And that's another thing is that we need to get more acquainted with what our value is. Because that makes a difference. There's people who get all disturbed. I work for a company, well, they're not paying me what I'm worth. There isn't a company in the world that can pay you what you're worth because they have to make a profit off of you. If they paid you what you're worth, you'd be broke.
Yeah.
But they at least should pay you your value. And that's part of this consciousness chart, is understanding what your value is and how you can increase your value. And for the electrical side of things, I've done a lot of studying. I went to a lot of extra correspondence courses, schools and stuff to do that. So I would be at the top of that pay scale. And then in the part where I used to go out and the company I worked for 18 years, their idea of a journeyman electrician was he'd hand you a roadmap and a set of prints, go out and do it. And let us know when you're about done and we'll have another job for you. They didn't want to hear about it, so it was like having your own business and they were paying the bills. And I made them a lot of money and they made me a lot of money, so that's a good deal. Well, when I first went to work for them, they sent me out put me out to work by myself so they could find out what I could do.
Yeah.
And this project manager set me out on a job, told me what he wanted. 3 days later, he shows up and he gets right in my face and he goes, how's it going? All right, I guess. Is somebody complaining? No. I said, why'd you ask? The guy's out here before you, he was calling me every half hour. If you gotta be bothering me, I can't be looking for another job for you while you're doing this one. If you take care of my work, I'll give you 50 cents an hour on the paycheck. You do that for 6 months, I'll get you foreman's pay. You stay with the company 2 years. We have a profit sharing trust. You can put 2 to 10% of your pay in. I think it's a good deal. And turn around and walk away. How much information do you need? That's the only company I ever worked for that told me straight out, in plain language, what their expectations were and what they do in return. So when he left, I hadn't talked to him for 3 days or even seen him, so he must be looking for another job, right? So then, my thing on the pay, I was working for another electrical contractor and they wouldn't pay me foreman's pay. So that's pretty much, and my wife had this trip that that's a no-brainer for me to quit and go work for somebody else. So that's, that was kind of a fun thing. And well, anyway, I figured I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and see if he comes through with the money or whether he's flapping his gills. And so 2 weeks he gave me foreman's pay, didn't mess around with 50-cent thing. And then when I got into the 2-year probation period to get in their fund, I put in 2% 1 year to start with. I didn't take a pay raise the next year, I went to 5%, and next year I didn't take a pay raise and went to 10%. Well, guess what? In 14 years, the company sold, and usually those trust funds just disappeared. This one didn't, and the way they worked it was every quarter they took 10% of the profit from the company and moved it from Keith Electric to Keith Electric Trust Fund and can never go back to the company. And when the general manager was told that he had to put the money in our trust fund into the one in Chicago, he says, no, I don't. He says, I'll break it up before I do that. So they were honest and ethical people. Yeah. That was the other thing that they taught me was that. And so we broke up the trust, and I come home. My wife says, I almost left today. And I says, why is that? And there's a check line there for $106,000, so that's a pretty good deal. That's good to leave the other contractor and go to work for them. And so out of that, I just had these experiences that have accelerated me in the business world. And I just believe you can take those and apply them to the spiritual realm. And why not? What rule is there that says I can't use that? You know, and the pivot table thing that's just an example. There's several more. And so that's just kind of pretty much wraps up what I wanted to get accomplished. You know, just there's in the Course in Miracles, there's a thing that's called, there's a different way of looking. There's a different way to look at this.
Yeah.
And so I'm just suggesting today, just take a different way to look at this thing on the spiritual side. And there's nothing that I know of that says you can't use honest, ethical business practices to get you further down the road with the spiritual thing. And so that's pretty much what I got. Hope y'all don't have to do it like I did. I'm not telling you that, but I just give you some information to go from. And if you got any questions, and then Hawkins has he wrote many books, and when he wrote Power versus Force, of Course in Miracles and Alcoholics Anonymous asked him to write a series of books. And I think there's about 9 books in that series, and I've read several of those. So that's just a little bit about Wayne, and I just thought I'd share that, and hopefully it helps. And if not, well, at least appreciate the time.
Thank you, Wayne.
Well,
Thank you.
I did have a picture of me holding zinnias in the thing, so I just brought a few today to let you know I still have some.
Good deal. And I'm so grateful for our neighbor that has a whole yard of them. The finches love them and the pollinators love them. So yay, flowers. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you for that message. We'd like to share your resources with Unity Center of Des Moines. Now is your opportunity to do so. If you're here in person, we're going to pass a basket around. If you're like me and rarely carry cash, or maybe you're joining us online, we can also accept donations via Venmo, Zelle, and Square. If you have no idea where to go, you can go to our website, unitydesmoines.com, scroll down, and it'll say donate via Square. You can click on that. But regardless of what your contributions are, whether they are of a financial, spiritual, energetic, or physical level, we want to offer the following affirmation. It's up on screen. I am infinitely abundant. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I thankfully acknowledge the divine source.
Well, I'm kind of jumping the gun with the seasonal song here. This is a song that I've come up with quite some time ago, a little while ago. Anyway, this is kind of the end of the summer song. When I was up in Lake Michigan last week on the warm sand dunes of the lake, the goldenrod was already blooming. It's not blooming here yet, but in a month it will. And this is my take. I have a big patch of goldenrod near my shower. And this is my take on one of our famous native plants. I get this feeling about this time of year. Things are kind of hazy, like the sky is never clear. Daylight's ever waning, I feel the dew upon the grass. These summer days are fading, all these things are much past. But the goldenrod swaying in the meadow turns its life from green to gold. The goldenrod filling up my senses. Please pollinate my soul. The dusk are getting cooler when the air is going down. The locusts in the trees will sing such a fragrant sound, like a paintbrush dancing, trying to paint the sky, bringing love and mystery that we never may know why. With the goldenrod, somewhat like a heartbeat, like a bell of many seasons told. The goldenrod, remind me of the moment, and please pollinate my soul.
I'd like to dedicate this offering to do the work of spirit and truth to the people of Unity Center of Des Moines. And we are grateful. Thank you so much. And can we get another round of applause for Dennis? Just thank him so much for sharing his original music. I'd like to now invite everyone to stand up and follow along as Deb walks us through the words and hand motions to the Universal Greeting of Peace from the Gandhi Foundation.
I offer you peace.
I offer you peace.
I offer you love.
I offer you love.
I offer you friendship.
I offer you friendship.
I see your beauty.
I see your beauty.
I hear your needs.
I hear your needs.
I feel your feelings.
I feel your feelings.
My wisdom flows from the higher source.
My wisdom flows from the higher source.
And I salute that source in you.
And I salute that source in you.
Let us work together for unity and love.
Let us work together for unity and love.
Thank you.
All right, now that concludes our service today. I'd like to invite everyone to make a great big circle around the room. However you need to position yourselves so we can all be connected. We might need to cut it off in the middle so we can all hold hands. If you don't want to hold hands, or maybe you've had sniffles or something, you can put your hands over your heart, and let's sing the closing song.
The presence of the divine watches over us wherever we are.
Mine is, and all is well. Thank you, everyone. There are snacks and coffee in the community room. There's Be Kind signs and CDs in the back that Linda can take payment for. And I just need 2 rows of 6 in the back and all the rest of the chairs on the wall. Hope to see you next week. Hugs and talking after. Have a great one, everyone. Yay.